Hello everyone and welcome to Walford Weekly, your weekly EastEnders podcast, where this week we'll be discussing episodes released on the BBC in the UK from Monday the 28th of November to Thursday the 1st of December 2022. I hope you are well. I trust that you all are. Christmas is coming, isn't it? And the big Christmas stories are on their way and they're ramping up.
Holidays are coming. Holidays are coming.
And driving that big red truck right into the brick wall is Rob. Hello Rob, how are you?
Hello, Alex. I'm all right. What you may discover, listeners, this week is that, well, all three of us, including Ben, are all sort of struck down with all sorts of viruses. Ben's officially got COVID at the moment, hasn't he?
He's officially got the COVID, but we're on varying levels of what we could actually have from cold to COVID, you know?
My brother, who I live with, has is coming down off COVID, and this morning I've started having a sore throat, headache, achy muscles, stuffed up nose, all that kind of thing. So all three of us at the moment are in December and into wintry viruses. So if it sounds like the pair of us are sniffing away like cocaine addicts throughout most of this, we're not. We're just full of snot. All right. So that's a delightful image for you. So apart from that.
Hi, everyone. And hello to the new listeners or watchers of the podcast.
Nutty Weekly.
Now, Alex, yes, Rob.
Most important, it's the final ever. We're in December. It's the final ever change the dot on the calendar. It's been I've loved this little element to the show every month. 12 pictures of dot, 365 days in the year, 52 weeks, and we have finally reached the final ever picture of dot. So we'll go from November.
Well, I was going to say, not once have we ever, or have you ever turned to the calendar and it's gone right? It's either fallen off the back of the wall, the calendar's fallen apart in your hand like dust. We had a video link cut out, so I had to post it as a picture on Twitter. Not once. This is the last month we're going to get this right. Hope you're watching this on YouTube, because this is monumental, guys. If you're not listening, if you're listening to this right now, pop onto our YouTube channel right now, Walford Weekly, and watch us change the dots right now. It's going to go right. It's going to go right. Here we go. So
I've always loved Alex's optimism. You be optimistic, I'll be realistic. Right, okay. So we have gone from Dot and Ethel, say goodbye to Ethel, to the final one of the year. Dot and Jim. That's appropriate, actually.
It's very appropriate, because there was a line this week where they said Dot's gone up to heaven to sort out Jim, because Jim's had far too long upstairs having his own reign. That's lovely. With Holly round. Quiet. It's Holly round.
I love that.
Someone photoshopped some Holly in.
This doesn't look very Christmassy. Stick Holly around it. That'll do it. That'll do it. It's not like there's any photos of Dot and Jim available at any Christmas ever in the history of the show. We'll go for that.
I mean, it is an unofficial camera. Let's be honest. They probably, as we've discussed when we first got the calendars, probably Google searched images, and they've made a calendar out of it. Anyway, look, here we go. Rob's going to hang it on the wall, and it's going to stay on the wall for the whole episode.
Only took a year.
Finally, it's worked out. Everything's coming up, Rob. Lovely. Okay, well, that's fantastic.
I wish.
So, right, well, we might as well just get on with things then, haven't we? We might as well, just to remind people, you can get in touch with us at Walford Weekly on all the social medias, on YouTube, and you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of your favourite podcast apps. However, it's time to delve in deep, into the deep end.
Let's do it.
For a bit of EastEnders gossip.
Ho, ho, ho.
The first story we are starting with is the Panasars and Eve trying to infiltrate that family unit of Suki and Nish, trying to find out exactly what control Nish has over Suki, and whether Suki is strong enough to survive it. I mean, Suki has given Eve another warning this week, saying, I've told you once, I've told you twice, I've told you 3 million times, do not
1,000 times
our family. And Eve is having none of it. Not only because she's very worried for Suki's welfare, but also because she's getting paid pretty well, apparently, by
isn't she just
the services that she's doing.
I mean, I don't know how. I'm not entirely sure, like, how you could really qualify as being paid thousands of pounds for her work. You know, considering that she works on a burger van and bonuses. But Nish is keeping her sweet, because Nish has absolutely no idea why Suki is sort of standoffish with her. He actually believes that Suki is being standoffish with Eve because she's being homophobic, and Nish is being the liberal of the family. Like, do you know what? People make their life choices. It's okay.
Yeah, Ash, your daughter is bisexual. Suki, sort yourself out. No, do you think Nish is thinking that? I don't know. I think Nish is playing it. I think Nish knows exactly what's going on, and I think he's kind of manipulating Suki and Eve into a false sense of security so that they trip over.
Interesting. That's interesting. I don't think it is, because I don't think that Nish's ego would allow him to think that. Because I think he believes that when he came back and said to Suki, "Ron, if there's anybody else on the scene, you wouldn't want me to repeat my behaviour of the past, would you?" Which, as far as he's concerned, absolutely cleared Suki's schedule of any dating or anybody interested whatsoever. So I think that he now believes that Suki is fully all for him. Now, he's a little bit sort of wondering why she's been a bit standoffish and just believes it to be Eve. And I think that is what it is. I think he just literally thinks that Suki's a little bit homophobic, not really interested in Eve's lifestyle, Eve's choice of lifestyle. Got a little bit of work to do there, Nish, but never mind. And let's not have that conversation just yet. No. Not ready for it yet. So you Nishy. Nishy pops. But yeah, so Nish has gone off to Liverpool, I think it was, when on some business venture. Because the Panasars have got this great little sort of thing that happens that every now and again, whenever an actor needs to kind of go off for a little bit, I've got business, off I go. I'm off to pick a city. I'm off to pick a city anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, but he's on to Leeds. So we just can't get the cities right when the Panasars visit on the businesses, can we? Dubai, not Mumbai, somewhere Leeds, there. Liverpool, Cornwall,
Dubai, Mumbai,
Reykjavik, not a clue.
If only they went somewhere more recognisable, like
Skegness.
Skegness, yeah, Skeggy. Go down off to Skeggy for a bit. I mean, Suki is kind of, she's almost singling herself out on purpose now to kind of stop any suspicion coming her way. I mean, obviously, Kirat is in prison, so that kind of any route where her and Eve's relationship is now stopped dead in that relationship, in that sense. Yeah. Ravi's now kind of a loose end, and now she's said to Ravi she doesn't want anything to do with him either. So yeah, she's trying to, she's almost purposely trying to single herself away from everyone and make herself a bit of a lapdog for Nish, for lack of a better term. So, is this a dangerous situation Suki's put herself in, or is she right to do this in order to kind of rein Nish's temper in a little bit?
Yeah, well, I think that's basically what she's trying to do, because we're seeing little elements of Nish kind of controlling her life. It's not the main kind of focus of the storyline at the moment. It may turn into a bit of a coercive control storyline on the whole. But we're sort of just basically seeing that what Nish says goes. As we've seen with most of his family, it tends to be that if Nish barks out an order, somebody obeys him. So I think she at the moment is just trying to kind of keep him happy, keep Eve well at arm's length. That's why she keeps kind of being horrible to her, even though we all know how Suki feels about Eve, and we all know how Eve feels about Suki. She's doing that thing where it's just like, no, you're vile. Get away from me. I can't stand the sight of you. You make me sick. Run away. Go away and stay away from me forever. But now, like we say, Eve has sort of settled herself back in. She's very much involved in the Panasars' business plans. She's very much involved in the Panasars getting the archers off Ben. Can't wait till Phil comes back and finds that one out. That's going to be interesting.
Phil's got a few bombshells coming his way, hasn't he, really?
Phil has got some landmines coming his way, bless his little shiny head. So I can't wait to see where this goes next. And it's kind of in the background as we kind of thought it would be, going into Christmas, because obviously we've got all other stuff kicking off at the moment. So the Panasars are sort of taking a back seat at the moment, but just kind of giving a little update. But yeah, at the moment, Nish is away in Leeds, and Suki and Eve are sort of back in each other's pockets again at the moment. So do you think they'll be able to last the end of next week without sleeping together? What do you reckon?
Well, this is it, isn't it? This is it.
The temptation of Eve.
Now Nish, that's right. Now Nish, take that apple from that tree. Now Nish has gone to Leeds. There's just Leeds open rate. Eve seemed quite excited also by the fact that Nish had asked, which is why I'm thinking he's kind of suspicious of their relationship. He asked Eve implicitly, very directly, and said, I want you to take care of Suki while I'm away, because I know that she would listen to you, despite the kind of reservations about your choice of lifestyle.
Choice of lifestyle.
Yeah. And
trust me, I'm living proof it ain't a choice. You think I'd choose this? No, I wouldn't.
Oh, Rob.
I'm doing the hair every day. The pressure of the gay community. It's terrible.
Comment below and give Rob a lovely comment. Go on. Say hello to him. Go on. Give him a wink. Give him a wink. But yeah, no. So I wonder how far Suki will push Eve away, or indeed reel her in, and wonder how much more information Ravi can deem from this as well. Because I mean, Ravi's got that. Essentially, that could break. If Suki's not careful, that could break the family up, and because that's a big secret that he could easily give to his dad.
And the only person that knows it at the moment is Stacey. And I can't see at the moment. I can't see Stacey being the one to really sort of drop Suki or Eve in it at the moment.
Not on purpose.
There's still the sign. Not on purpose. What she does accidentally is basically the history of Stacey Slater. However, I can't. And the thing is, obviously, at the moment, Kierat's gone and Nina apparently is gone. So Stacey and Ravi are kind of singletons at the moment. So I do wonder if they're going to start kind of being magneted towards each other again. I'm a writer. I do wonder if they're going to kind of come like being drawn towards each other again.
Because you're right about Dr. Neil, because obviously Ash was doing an interview for jobs this week because Sonia became a health nurse for the surgery now.
I told you that was going to happen.
Saving £6 a week on her tube.
To be in there, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes, that vital £6 a week because of the cost of living crisis. But I think it makes sense for Sonia to be in the surgery. You know, because she kind of felt a little bit sort of out there. No more night shifts. She can sleep during the day.
Yes. No more shouting out the windows, telling people to shut up, stop making noise in the market.
Middle of the day. I'm on nights.
I'm trying to see. This is a weekly occurrence that we bring up as well, and I feel like we do need to start almost a charity event for poor old Vinny. His torment continues. He can't organize deliveries. He gets the wrong things sent to the shop. This week Suki made excuse. I know it was an excuse, but every time she used Vinny as an excuse,
but it's a believable
trying to get out of dinner.
That's the problem, isn't it?
That's
it's
the problem.
Believable excuse. They're just like, oh, Vinny, all right, yeah.
Yeah, like when will that boy stand on his own 2 feet?
Believable.
That poor boy, and he's still got that mobile phone shop as well, which he seems to just
run itself
now.
I thought that had been sort of gently let go by the writers, but it still sort of exists. People occasionally come in asking mobile phone questions. You know, if somebody drops their phone or locks their phone or needs a new phone, I must go speak to Vinny. And Vinny's there.
But Vinny's never there.
On the edge of a nervous breakdown.
Just sitting on the countertop, just shaking, just
rocking.
Wishing
I can't go. That's crazy.
I mean, you can see the demise of Vinny by his clothing. So, like when he's on top of his game, he's wearing a suit, nice shirt, nice press shirt, and then it kind of goes then training, and then it just goes to joggers, and as soon as he's in joggers, then game over for Vinny. Vinny's
So what we've got at the moment, obviously now then, is Nish away. Now, when a character goes away, look at Phil. What tends to happen is that when they come back, they're coming back to something to discover. That's what tends to kind of happen in this sort of situation, especially Alex around Christmas time. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking now that Nish is away, Suki and Eve will play. And I think Nish is going to come back to some form of compromising situation, or Ravi is something is going to be discovered about Suki and Eve over the next few weeks, however long Nish is away for. So we shall see how that plays out. I reckon New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, the New Year's Day, New Year's Eve period might be Panasar drama. So we'll see how it goes. Let us know in the comment section below what you think the Panasars are going to be up to next, and how long before Suki and Eve can stop resisting each other and be together forever.
So Alfie's at it again, and he's up to his tricks to try to earn a little bit of money to pay back Phil Mitchell. I was sure that this was the end of the story after he sold the boat. I thought he only had like a couple of £100 to make up, but no, apparently the sale of advent calendars and ice lollies in the middle of the winter is the way to go. But however, the road took a bit of a detour, and he decided that family life was more important. When Tommy needed to raise money for a new AstroTurf for the school. So Alfie is now putting together a pantomime with the residents of the cast that don't have things to do at the moment, and a choir for the typical kind of Christmas story, which they do every year, where it's either going to be a choir concert or a pantomime or something or the other. And they've given it to Alfie.
And you knew he was going to get it. You knew he was going to get this storyline. That's the sort of thing that Alfie is for. This sort of frivolity. It offends you a lot more than it offends me. So I'm just going to sit back, drink my tea, and just let you rant about it, because it was. I found it mildly irritating, but not as apocalyptic as I'm sure you.
I'm sure there's still a lot more to come of the story. Obviously, he's got to do the rehearsal. They got to put together a pantomime in 3 weeks so that it can air on the Christmas Day episode as a bit of a lighter thing to show on the episode. It's a stock thing they do every year, which I feel like is a bit disappointing, because why? They brought back Alfie because for that story, apparently, that's that
I don't think it was for that story specifically.
Well, yeah,
we need to have a Christmas pantomime. Alfie, that's what we need.
But if it wasn't specifically for that, why are they putting him in that direction then? Because it is just it's the story that everyone knows get hands out to the cast that have nothing else to do. You know what I mean? So it feels like they kind of demerited Alfie's role on the show now, other than every now and then he kind of like has Kat standing in the background kind of smiling and like going and then running away all upset because she still likes Alfie but she doesn't know what to do because she's torn, because she also likes Phil and she's forward Phil's business and blah. So it's just, you know, it's just standard, isn't it? It's just standard. Yeah. And there's only and there's only so much I can tolerate watching Alfie, you know, get a crowd around him and then start waffling nonsense to the crowd and like have all the crowd going while I sat there looking angry and scornful at the television with my cup of tea in my hand, shaking slightly like that, twitching a tiny little bit, because everything he's doing on screen right now is more irritating than it is actually hilariously funny, which for some reason, well, I'm not getting paid to pretend to laugh, am I? So that's probably why I'm not laughing quite as hard as the people on the screen. However, Rob, what did you think about this?
Jesus Christ. I mean, it is what it is. I didn't quite let it settle in my synapses quite as much as you have. I mean, yeah, it's kind of going. Alfie is sort of going around in circles at the moment. You know, I would kind of just like. The thing is, I would kind of just like Phil to return at this point, so we kind of moved.
So would I.
With the fact that that's why you're angry, isn't it? Because he's made you want Phil.
Just bring Phil back.
That's why you're angry.
Christ, honestly, I wouldn't mind if Phil killed. If Phil killed for the first time ever, and it would be Alfie Moon. I'd be all right with that. I'd probably cope with that.
I mean, it's just it is what it is. I know. The thing is, I kind of knew what we were going to get with Alfie when he came back. As soon as that first episode was airing, and he was all kind of running around like a kid that's had too many Smarties, I sort of kind of got what we were going to. Especially when as soon as Christmas was around the corner, I sort of kind of guessed what we were going to get from him. And it's exactly this. I do agree with you in the sense that I am kind of bored of Alfie sort of standing in the marketplace trying to sell something like a really smart priced Del Boy. And Kat sort of standing there simpering, which makes no sense really, because he's come back and sort of single-handedly sort of destroyed elements of her life already. Yeah. And they're not even back together yet. You know, he's come back and Phil's apparently lost 30 grand. She's fine with him, the fact that he lived in her house for a few weeks, which is a tad creepy to say the least. But it's because it's Kat and Alfie, isn't it? And we're supposed to sort of want them back together, and because of the history of it. I sort of feel like Kat has maybe moved on a little bit since Alfie was last around. I don't know, but it kind of feels like maybe a step backwards for Kat in that respect. The thing is, the one thing I do quite like is sort of Tommy's involvement. You know, Tommy is sort of stepping forward and he's trying to sort of make everything work. I don't know if he's necessarily trying to push Kat and Alfie back together, which I'm quite appreciating. Because I'm sure he will at some point, but at the moment Tommy is just trying to stop his dad from being murdered, which is understandable, you know.
I think Jean is the one who's trying to get them together, because Jean was the one cheering every time any kind of mention of them getting back together was there. I think Tommy is just happy to have his dad back from what I can see, and I suppose that might cause a rift between Alfie and Phil further, because Phil obviously is always looking for a son. Mm-hmm. He's got a son. He lives on the square, but he wants another son. You know? He's got two sons, actually.
All the sons.
They both live on the
square. All the
sons.
Aye. Raymond is somewhere. Hidden under
Raymond and Ben are somewhere floating around.
Denise is going to find him recast in about 2 years' time. Just, there you are, just laid under the sofa. So there we are. I mean, that's about it, really. The pantomime thing is coming. I'm sure it'll be frivolity and it'll offend you.
Sure, it'll be hilarious.
Smile and drink a Baileys. It'll all be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be lots of mistakes on stage, and Alfie will have to stand in for the pantomime dame or something hilarious like that, and it'll be hilarious, and we'll all laugh, and everyone will cry, and we'll just eat our mince pie and go to sleep because Christmas is over. So that'll be that. God, I've gone into a black hole here, haven't I?
My presenting partner, Ebenezer Scrooge, you're going to get visited by 3 ghosts at midnight. I'm telling you now. Pauline, Dot, and Pat are all going to come visit you on Christmas Eve, and they're going to slap you, each of them, and then you're going to wake up on Boxing Day a happier human being.
Good. I look forward to it. Anyway, shall we move to the next story, eh?
Please.
So poor old Harvey this week got cat flapped, as Honey put it, or catfished. Yeah. Yes, catfish this week by Dotty. Dotty impersonating. A
shocking twist.
I know. Was it Jean? I forget who's the lady. We talked about her last week. She had an Italian name, but she was French.
Sophia.
She had a French name. Sophia. That's it.
Yes. Jean's a real character.
I know. I saw Jean on my notes, and I just jumped to that immediately because obviously Jean was mentioned as well this week because it being Harvey. Yes. Harvey and Jean still have that kind of that light between them.
Yes.
But poor old Dotty.
At some point they are going to get back together, you would think. But when you say poor old Dotty, but she is Sophia, it turns out. And now, this was one of those moments where, Bobby sort of worked it out with the sparsest of details. Sort of just like, look at the way you're raising your eyebrow. Oh my God, you're Sophia, aren't you? But, in terms of the sort of twist itself, I didn't see it coming whatsoever. And it sort of makes sense as to why Harvey and Dotty were having those scenes a few weeks back now, doesn't it? It's sort of that was what that was all about. And so it sort of makes sense now.
Yeah,
I was genuinely kind of like, oh!
Dotty's character really confuses me sometimes because she jumps from being like angel to devil in like the space of a week. So she's like, she's come this kind of very likable character all of a sudden. And then this week she did that to Harvey, and her reasoning behind it was that Harvey thought she was a thief, so she thought she'd be a thief. And it felt a bit like...
It does sound like that was basically her logic, yeah. Well, she also needs to pay off her credit card bill, she said as well.
She got a 10 grand credit card bill.
10 grand credit card bill.
On what, I wonder? Yeah, what's she spending? Know. Is she not paying me like the small interest each week?
I mean, I know she lives in London, but God... 10 grand. We've not seen any. It's not like she's been walking around with new clothes or a new handbag or like constantly flashing her cash around.
Her jeans are always torn. I don't know if she shouldn't be buying them brand new, should she?
That's the fashion, Alex. That's the fashion, Alex. That's what happens these days with the young people.
Kathy's rental.
Don't worry, Grandad.
Oh, Kathy's rental could be a bit high, I suppose. I don't know what she pays to stay with Kathy's. She doesn't have to pay any more, I suppose. But 10 grand credit card bill. I mean.
Yeah,
I did feel for Dotty a little bit because she's always trying to find her place, and then she always does something wrong to mess it up. But she's really done it big time this time.
Yes, well, I think this might be slow. This might be the final chapters of Dotty, because obviously something else happened at the end of the week, which we should be discussing in much more detail. But presumably, the funeral of Dot is going to be sort of the end of Dotty. So she's leaving with one last kind of cloud over her head. Maybe she get a little bit of forgiveness just before she goes. But we'll have to wait and see. Who I did feel sorry for a little bit was Harvey. And it sort of makes sense now as to why Harvey has just been so isolated and left on his own, like with both of his kids gone. He's now just living in that, rocking around that flat all on his own, kind of put all his hopes into this beautiful woman called Sophia, and was quite happy to kind of send her money because he was getting lonely. So today when he discovered that, when Rocky came around and explained to him what was actually happening, Harvey basically chucked him out and then just kind of broke down when he was on his own in the flat, which I thought was quite sad and quite... Yeah, so I'd be interested to see where Harvey goes from here. Like, are we going to really explore his loneliness, or is he going to kind of... I don't know. I don't know where Harvey goes from here. What do you think?
Well, I mean, we're getting to Christmas time, so having a kind of a lonely person storyline is always part and parcel, isn't it? So, are the Square going to club together and look after him? I mean, he was made fun of when he walked into the Vic as well at the end of the week by Zach and they all
mean.
It was a bit mean, to be fair. Then he was a bit like, bore off or whatever, and then stormed off to the bar to get himself a beer. Off.
You tell him, Harv. That's it. You tell him.
Yeah, no, it's a horrible thing that Dotty had done to him. But when Dotty was upset, you could see that Harvey kind of saw her vulnerability when she heard about Dot's death. You saw the vulnerability there. So I think that they will. I think that the good terms will end their friend. There'll be a good friendship at the end of it. It's just. What poor old Harvey. Who does he go to now? For advice and counsel.
I think he's doing that kind of very typical bloke thing, which actually is quite in character for Harvey. I think he's dealing with sort of emotions, and I don't think Harvey's ever been really that good at emotions. He's always been a bit of a dinosaur in that respect. So I don't think that he is going to really kind of reach out to anybody. Rocky's going to have to kind of keep coming back and helping him out, but I don't think he's going to sort of open his arms and open his doors to people actually knowing how he's feeling at the moment. So I think, I think the loneliness storyline of this year is going to be to Harvey. We're trying to see in which direction, how far they go with it. I think, the idea of everyone sort of rallying around to sort of cheer him up is nice, and it's the sort of thing that might kind of go quite well with all the panto stuff that's going on, or they might just kind of forget about him and just let him sort of completely. Dana's got no plans to come in back. Clearly, I don't think we're going to have a phone. We're going to have a phone call from Dana at some point going, I've met a guy. I'm in the Philippines, so I can't come home this Christmas. I'm sorry. We'll see.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he could always do the pantomime with Jean. I think Jean's getting involved with the pantomime. Perhaps that's
back end of a horse.
Yeah, you could share the horse costume. Gene could be the front, he could be the back. Yeah, something like that. I mean, I think inevitably it can only be Gene that can save him out of this rut. And I think
that's going to be it, isn't it? This is going to be what brings them back together.
Because before he met Sophia, you saw his flat, and he was in a sad state, and then he met this woman. But he's gonna obviously find it difficult now to trust women again in a relationship, or anybody for that matter. We still don't know. We still don't really know about, like, because he talked about, like, when he was with Jean, about the mental health of his wife. We still don't really know much about that yet.
No, we still don't know. No, we don't know anything about that.
We still got that to look into. So there's still a lot we need to know about Harvey.
Yeah, and it's quite nice that we kind of got that ready to go whenever they kind of need a storyline for Harvey. It's nice that can be this woman could turn up at some point, or we'll discover stuff about Harvey's past. So at least there's still kind of like a purpose for Harvey to be around at the moment, which is nice, because I like Harvey. I've always liked Harvey. So I'm intrigued to know where he's going to go. But yeah, I think you're right there. I think Jean's going to be the one to sort of visit him at Christmas, and then from there the two of them will blossom into a beautiful relationship.
Hopefully they don't change Harvey. I mean, Harvey's the only Monroe who kind of came onto the show who didn't kind of change when he was, like, from his beginning to when they left. Both of them kind of took quite one more steep than the other, let's just say. But it's Harvey's kind of stayed constant. So I there's still, as we say, there's still parts of his story that we don't know about yet, which we know are there. So yeah, I'd like to learn more about that. And I think Jean's the only one who can kind of, like, open that book and have her, have him look in. So hopefully he does let him in. Fingers crossed. What about the damaged relationship between Dotty and her uncle Tom?
Well, I mean, it seemed that all was done and lost. Rocky was quite happy just for Dotty to walk off into the rain and never see her again. But obviously, news of Dot's death hit the square this week, which we'll be discussing at the end of the podcast. And it seemed that, Dotty lost her grandma, so it was kind of Rocky immediately went in to kind of hug her. So there is still that affection there between them. I'll be interested to sort of see how they get on. So, because Rocky is furious, and understandably so, more so than Harvey. Harvey's kind of just like, yeah, well, I guess that's what I bring to myself. Which is
Harvey was hurt. Harvey was hurt, and I think that Rocky's taken up the mantle of being angry on behalf of Harvey. There's still that as well. You think about it, Harvey's going to probably maybe crack at some point. Too. So,
at some point, you'd think. So yeah, still more to come with this. I like it. I like the way that it's going. It's some nice character stuff with Harvey, because I did wonder what exactly the plan was for Harvey. So it seems that we're sort of, this is the direction we're going in, and I like it. But let us know in the comment section below. Harvey and Jean, are we going to have a lovely little reunion on Christmas Day? That'd be nice. Nice little kiss on the mistletoe Christmas Day. Or do you reckon he's just going to have your miserable ass today? You know that. Or do you reckon, this is normally my role with romance, or do you reckon that Harvey's going to be alone on Christmas Day? Is he going to have his Peggy moment, where he trashes his flat and sort of and is all sad and has a nervous breakdown?
None of the family turn up. Imagine if Harvey does cook Christmas dinner thinking that Dana is going to come over and she doesn't turn up. Oh, that'd be awful.
He might chuck his turkey across the room. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, he might chuck his turkey. I always live in hope.
Only a year late. Our prediction will come.
I'll take it.
Finishing the week now with Janine's story. And it very much is Janine's story now, because Janine is going round and round in circles in her mind of exactly what's going. Exactly. She's tying herself up in so many different theories of exactly what Linda's doing, that she's now sending herself a little bit over the edge. And Sonia saw this coming, phoned up a mysterious person. That mysterious person happened to be Ricky Butcher. It was nice to see him back. I did. I really enjoyed seeing him back. And I mean, Linda also kind of confirmed Janine's fears this week by kind of saying, I know what you're up to. Yes. I know what you're doing. But Mick's smarter than that, and he'll see through you. And then Linda replied, that's exactly what I'm hoping he will do. Meaning, like, he'll see through what Janine's up to. It's like, so Linda's. Linda is playing the game, isn't she?
Yeah, I thought that was always what was going to happen. I don't think that she was as vindictive as Janine is making out in terms of the taking her to hospital, all that kind of thing. I think that came from a genuine place. But I do think that Linda is kind of basically expecting Mick to get back with her at any time. She sort of half-heartedly went on this date. She tried to go out with a very hot doctor. I want
Dr. Carl.
List. I want Sharon's contact list, because she knows how to pull a daddy. for herself or for any of her friends. I need Sharon as my best mate. And
we all need a friend like Sharon.
We all need a friend like Sharon. But the thing is, with all this kind of paranoia that Janine's got, it's right. It's not like she's making stuff up in her head.
That's the thing, isn't it?
It's perhaps not as quite as extreme as she thinks it is. Like, I think she's got it in her head that Mick and Linda are sort of sleeping together right now, and they're not. But, given half the opportunity, Linda would. And to be honest with you, given half the opportunity, I think Mick would. So the only thing that's kind of keeping those two together is kind of moral decency at the moment, which Janine doesn't possess. So I think that. So I don't think she expects it in other people. So I'm really enjoying this now with Janine. She went mad. She went mad this week.
She went absolutely crazy. Threw those pigs and blankets all over the kitchen. I know we haven't had a Vic trashed kitchen for a long time. Yeah, pig and blanket, Janine.
I love that line. She's all wrapped up in a little blanket, and Linda comes in and goes, pig in blankets, and then holds the tray out.
But this is it. It's not just really Linda who's kind of been... I don't want to take... She is manipulating. I feel like she's manipulating. Not purposely to begin with, but I think that she can see the signs are there, because Mick, halfway through her date with Dr. Carl, kind of walked in, made an excuse to want to buy some stuff, some food from Walford East. I did find it curious that Mick and Janine walked into Walford East, and Ravi said, "Oh, are you eating in or out?" They didn't order anything. They just said, "Are you eating in or out?" And he said, "Oh, takeaway." Well, Janine said takeaway straight away. He handed her a bag and left. It's like that's a novel way of cooking food nowadays.
Janine said they phoned, so they'd ordered it already.
Oh, okay. But then surely they knew they were going to collect it, rather than they're going to take out the bag and then put it onto plates for them, so they can eat in the restaurant. I just thought it was a really odd, mad thing to do. But anyway, as you say, Mick was there to kind of spy on Linda's date and see that everything was all right.
Yeah. Which again proves that Janine is kind of coming from the right place. Everything that she sees, it's not like Janine is kind of watching from a distance and she's kind of watching a conversation that isn't as mad in her head as she thinks it is. She keeps watching Mick and Linda having quite intense chats with each other that is clearly full of sort of remembrance for their relationships, and is getting the right idea from them, which is kind of interesting. And but I can totally see why Linda is being the way she is with Janine, because she was a decent person with the baby thing, but at the end of the day, she absolutely despises the ground that she walks on, and vice versa. So this was always going to kind of come back at some point. But yes, the big thing of the week really is the return of Ricky. So nice to see him again.
It was really nice to see Ricky Butcher back, and it was nice to see the scenes with him and Sam. I like that he said you look different, and I thought she probably does. And I like that.
A little bit different. Yeah,
just a tiny bit different.
Ricky,
No, it's really great. It was really, really great to see him back. Actually, it's a nice little. I don't think he's there. He's obviously there for the storyline of Janine's departure. But
he's going to go off with Scarlett. Is his purpose really? I think that's what's going to happen. Right. He's going to take Scarlett when all hell breaks loose with Janine and she ends up going to prison or whatever's going to happen.
Do you think that Janine is going to crack then? Because do you think Janine's finally going to be taken to an institution and looked after? Because there's always been
put in a straitjacket and taken away.
I mean, there's always been signs there, hasn't there?
She's a psychopath in a lot of ways, Janine. She is. She now and again has a prick of conscience, which I think maybe sort of veers her away from psychopathy. But I don't know. Whatever's going to happen is all kind of big and cataclysmic, because obviously we've seen pictures. We don't know how it's all going to play out. Still not entirely sure how we're getting. Even though there was a suggestion of Janine going slightly insane, we're still not entirely sure how we're going to get to that. So over the next few weeks, it's going to be really, really interesting. I can't wait to see it all play out. But yeah, I'm really, really, really happy to see Ricky again. Obviously, he's going to go off with Scarlett at the end, and then that whole kind of chapter is going to be done and dusted, and then that will be the end of Janine. I'm still not talking to Charlie Brooks.
She'll be going bye. I mean, what if Ricky Ricky is the one who has the fatal accident? Ricky is they didn't show them in the pictures. Imagine they kill off Ricky Butcher. I doubt it too.
Ricky back just to kill him. That would be a bit unfair, wouldn't it?
It'd be a bit cruel.
It seems like him and Sam are basically planning on carrying on from where they left off. Because
I like seeing them together.
Sam came in and said, "Oh, I'll have my usual, please." And he was like, "White wine," as though that was the most complicated drink that he'd ever heard. And Sam was like, "Oh, well, remembered." Really wasn't that difficult. Most women in Albert Square have a white wine, apart from Sharon, who drinks room temperature claret. I'm looking forward to seeing where all that goes.
Sharon was having a drink with Sonia this week. Sharon was having a drink with Sonia this week until Sonia said, did you hear the line that Sharon, as she came out of the toilet, she said, come on, Sonia, come join me before it gets warm.
Yeah,
so
the Seco's getting flat.
Yeah, it's getting warmer.
She likes it warm.
Exactly.
She likes it warm.
She wants to get it warmer. Yeah, I mean, there was big news.
That's her favourite.
There was big news also that Janine said she rang the bell just before the news from Sonia came. She rang the bell and said she had something to say about Linda. Am I the only one who's a bit baffled by that?
She was just going to kick off and just start a massive fight with Linda, I think was the plan.
Right.
And then before that came in, obviously Sonia walked in with the news.
The big news.
The big news, which I think we're pretty much done with Janine. Exciting. Moving forward.
Janine.
I want to talk about the end of the week because actually I thought the end of the week was excellent with the whole dot reveal. So let's do it. Let us know obviously let us know in the comment section where you think Janine's story is going to go. How the hell do we get to what we're going to get to? How do you think Janine's going to go? What do you think Ricky's role is going to be? Tap. Comment section, social medias. Boom. Let's talk Dot.
Finally, the news has come from Ireland that Dot. The character Dot has died. Obviously, June Brown had died a couple of months ago, and we knew that they were going to be introducing the funeral to the story on the square. We knew it was going to be around this time as well, and they did it on Friday. They've started the ball rolling for that story. Sonia missed a few calls from Dot, kind of just charged her phone and just left it, knowing that Dot was trying to get in touch with her, which I thought was so Sonia. It's like Sonia just so dismissive and just charge it. Yeah, I know, Dot, for goodness sake, I've got your money now, leave me alone. And so found out there's a few kind of like spikes with this story. Obviously, Sonia was very somber, very upset by the news. Dotty was very upset by the news. Jack found out through a third party, not before he had suggested to Amy that they go off for a fishing trip to Ireland to see Nana Dot.
It's all about the gender reversals.
It is. He wanted to be neutral because Jack's trying. Jack's still finding it having
such a liberal.
I know he's still having a very hard time with the news of Amy, and that's still bubbling around in the background as well because Amy did post a picture on her social media kind of commemorating her grandmother, and then the comments came in saying, well, I'm not surprised she died if she was related to you and stuff like that. That was gut-wrenching stuff.
And then she went straight upstairs to presumably kind of continue what she was doing. So that's nowhere near done, this storyline. So that's kind of good to know that they're putting the time and effort into the story and kind of keeping it going realistically, which is nice.
Yes, it's not good to know that she's doing it, but it's good to know that they're carrying on with the story.
It's
like me saying I like young people who are poor. And so Sonia tells the whole Vic. We knew it was coming because everyone was in the Vic as well for the light turning on ceremony on the square. And it was just, and I just thought it was so well played as well. Like the last 5 minutes was Sonia walking around the house on her own, kind of looking around, saying goodbye to Dot in her own time.
Silent credits, no less.
Silent credits as well. Yes. It was good.
Question for you: when was the last time we had silent credits? Can you remember?
Oh, wasn't it when Denny died and and Sonia was? It's not Sonia. Sharon was at the coffin and she was crying. I thought that the last proper silent credits we had was when Chantel died. I thought that was the last time they played silent credits. That would have been after Denny. So if that's the case, then yes, you're probably right. Right.
Yes. Look at me, quizmaster, knowing all.
Yeah, well done. I just a lot of grey has gone a bit grey in my mind. Let's just say. So,
grey matter.
It's gone in, or just flooded out for whatever reason you may choose.
Yes. I mean, I absolutely loved all this. I thought this was really well done. And obviously we've got much more to come with the funeral. I'm really looking, when is it, in the next couple of weeks, we think. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how, because if the last episode of the week was anything to go by, I think it's going to be a tearjerker. I think they're going to do this really, really well. I'm excited. They're going to give Dot the send-off she deserves. But there were some lovely moments, sort of Sharon and Martin sort of discussing stuff. The characters that have been there throughout Dot's tenure: Sonia, Martin, Sharon. even Alfie, kind of because he was there as well. I'm afraid, Alex. Janine kind of being as cutting as she ever was. I did quite like Janine. Janine's line about that made me laugh far too much because it was just so inappropriate. Did like that. But yeah, on the whole, I thought it was really well handled, and I can't wait to kind of see how exactly they're going to send it off with all the old cast coming back to kind of see her well. I do think we're in for some surprises.
So do I.
Think we are.
Hopefully, Nigel.
Yeah. Yeah, Nigel. I still say it's going to be a nonsense to be in, isn't there? In some guys, you know. I know it's more to do with. I know it's more to do with Adam Wood, than it is Ian, but I think it would feel wrong if Ian wasn't there. So they better have a good excuse lined up if he's not. You know.
I think they could probably convince Ian to come back just for maybe a week worth of episodes or just a couple of episodes. I mean,
yeah, you'd think
it is only one episode, isn't it? It's a long 45-minute episode they're doing for Dot's funeral. I'm really worried. I don't know when it's being aired exactly. I'm sure people can tell me. Comment below, get in touch. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I'm really worried it's not going to get buried as an iPlayer before it gets released on television. I'd rather on an event like this they release it on television first.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. It's all mixed in with the World Cup, unfortunately.
This is it. This is what I worry about. Really, I worry that that's what they're going to end up kind of doing. But yeah, it was really nicely played. Really, it was nice. How it was announced was nice. It wasn't brushed off, it wasn't ignored, it wasn't kind of like a flyaway comment. Throughout the week, Dot was mentioned a couple of times as well, so
you could see it was coming.
Yeah. Dot, she was coming in
just to remind us that Dot existed. That was just kind of name dropping Dot into conversations, which she wasn't really needed in, but that's kind of how it goes, isn't it? But then all of them went outside and looked under the Christmas tree and sort of held candles and just had a nice moment. It was lovely. I really liked it. I really liked it.
Dot loved Jesus, so we must commemorate his lights to
Dot. Love Jesus.
Dot love
Dot
Jesus.
Yes, that's how
what would Dot do? WWDD. That's what I always think to myself. Yeah,
it's sad.
I'm very much looking forward to the funeral episode. As much as you can look forward to something like that. But
I am.
It's going to be good. I wonder what the build up will be up to it, and because if it's next week they're showing the funeral episode, then obviously there's not going to be much of a build up to it. But I wonder if the characters that they're bringing in for it are going to now slowly kind of stream into the show. So maybe Mary comes in next week for a couple of episodes, and then Deezer comes in after that. And they kind of pop in.
I think it's more likely that all these old characters are going to kind of come back for the episode, and then they'll all be gone. I think that's kind of how it's going to go, to be honest. But Dot's body needs to be brought away across from Ireland. Presumably Charlie might come with her, you would think,
on a burning effigy.
Yes. So little Charlie Cotton, he's gonna have to come. So we'll see how that goes. So
do you think they'll get
looking forward to it? But yeah,
will they get him back as well, and his mum as well? Mrs. Doyle from Father Ted.
Mrs. Doyle. I don't know if she'll be invited. To be honest, I don't think her and Dot were that fond of each other, really. Rose, is Rose still alive? I think Rose is still alive, isn't she?
Oh, I don't know. Comment below, let us know, guys. I can't on the top of my head again.
Rose still alive? I can't remember if Rose is still alive or not. But obviously,
she was her younger sister's
funeral.
Yeah, you'd hope so. But this is it. And there's a lot of people who should come to the funeral. Like, Ray Stewart should come as well, because Stewart lived with.
Dot. There is that.
There's a lot of people who should come back for the funeral, but whether they do or not is another thing.
It's going to be sort of like the last episode of Neighbours, though, isn't it? Like, you kind of try and keep so many people happy in terms of respect the episode deserves.
Adam Wood will return, but won't say any lines, or just grunt like Kylie Minogue did.
That was ridiculous. So sing a song. I wonder if we might have, like when Pat died and Wixie came back right after the credits had rolled and had this little moment with Pat's grave and kind of walked off. That might be nice if someone is kind of given that sort of role. I don't know.
See, I could see.
It's going to be interesting. I can't wait though.
Yeah,
I was thinking Ian might do that. Yeah. Let us know in the comment section below what you think is going to actually happen, the lead up, and is there any surprises that you think are coming? Stick them in the comment section below and let us see what you think. I want to gossip, Alex.
Yeah, go on. We got one question this week for I Want to Gossip, so let's do it.
You know me, I ain't one to gossip.
We got an email this week from Jen.
Jen from Canada.
Jen from Canada. You don't seem very impressed.
As if I knew. No, I'm not surprised. It's the cold. COVID is slowly taking over.
It's kicking
I'm going to be in
in.
a different position next week.
We need to get this ball rolling quick.
The lovely Jen from Canada has got to say. What she got to ask?
Well, Tara, right. So to Jen from Canada. Hello, Jen from Canada. You sent us 2 lovely emails. But I've just taken one of the questions from your email, and this is the question I took. I love how you recall all old storylines quickly and your knowledge of the show's history. I find that I'm good at this, but I was better at it 20 years ago. No, exactly. Why are you single, Rob? Just wanted your thoughts on the reason for this. Is it the size of the cast, the vast number of storylines over the decades, or just the fact that the same storylines and characters stood out more than others? Or is it my age? And that's from Jen from Canada. Jen from Canada.
Jen from Canada. I mean, if you're in your 90s, it may well be your age. I don't know how old you are. I don't know if she mentions her age in the email. So if you're in kind of a
it's not polite to ask a lady
upwards,
her age.
If you're Alex,
Rob.
If you're Alex's age, it might be just old age and memory kind of kicking in. You don't know. It is difficult to sometimes think back. I mean, let's be honest. The show's been going for like nearly 40 years now, so there is a lot of characters, a lot of storylines, a lot of locations, a lot of sort of deaths and births and traumas and laughs and tears and everything. So you can't be expected to know absolutely everything. We're not sort of archivists. We sort of know what we know, and we sort of watch what we've seen. I know a little bit more about 2008, 2009 than I used to. Alex is much better at classic EastEnders than I am, and I'm sort of more good at sort of more good. That was good grammar, wasn't it? I'm better at sort of modern day EastEnders and sort of in the last 10 years or so. So we all have our talents, Jen, and if you find yourself forgetting it, then EastEnders is always there to in many guises. Classic EastEnders. You've got 2008, 2009. Oh my, she's in Canada. I'm sure you can find it somewhere.
Yeah, just get a VPN. That's what I always suggest. Get a VPN and watch on UK TV. Yes. Why not? It's legal.
Why not?
Just UK TV Play or whatever it's called in the UK, and BBC iPlayer and all that. One thing I find stood out from that question was whether storylines have the impact that they used to nowadays. Like, if you look back and you think of, you fondly remember like big storylines, you remember the Den and Angie divorce papers. You remember when, Kat and oh my goodness, now see, I can't remember things. There you go. You're not alone. just me.
Kat and Alfie. Kat and Alfie. Kat and Zoe. That story.
Kat and Zoe. Yeah, You Ain't My Mother. Yes. When the Mitchells first were introduced, when Ethel died, that was another big story. When Arthur had a breakdown and then had his hair. There's a lot of big stories that kind of happen, and if you kind of pit as the number of stories that kind of stick in your mind tend to start pittering out when you get to around about 20
I know.
And onwards. So it feels like
I think
it doesn't quite have the same pull as maybe it used to, and maybe that's why it doesn't stick in your mind so much.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought that because in the past, especially in the past 10 years or so, the soaps have tried to outdo each other with the most extravagant sort of mad out there storylines. They've sort of bent themselves out of their own individual shapes a little bit. And at some point, all the story, like in the 90s and 2000s, there was a lot of sort of storyline firsts, weren't there? So the 80s was a very different time for storylines. You might have the odd sort of hardcore storyline, but not as sort of regularly as they started appearing. Serial killers were in the 1880s, and now they're fairly commonplace, which, again, is sort of because everyone keeps trying to grab the bottle of lightning that was the Richard Hillman storyline in Coronation Street. It's just about trying to rinse and repeat, which I think is kind of the problem with soaps at the moment. There's fewer and fewer storylines that feel as original as they used to. So I think that's why they don't sort of, I mean, I'd completely forgotten that Denise had been a victim of domestic violence for a start until I started watching it in 2009. I was like, oh my God, I've forgotten about that.
And an alcoholic. Denise had an alcoholism storyline and she was abusing Patrick.
Abusing Patrick for about 5 minutes. That was a bad hangover, wasn't it, Denise?
I mean, do you think that also, because there's a bit of criticisms, I sometimes listen in on Conversation Street when I get the moment. Not that I watch Coronation Street, I just like listening. I don't know. And there's sometimes an argument on their podcast where they say that there's too many casts, there's too many characters on the show. That they don't know, so they're almost like block storytelling is happening over there now. EastEnders isn't at fault with that anymore. I feel like that's not happening on EastEnders. There was a real time when it was happening, but not so much now. But because they've got such a big cast, if there's like you kind of a story happens and then nothing happens, nothing progresses with that story for like 3-4 weeks, and then it comes back to that story again. And like I say, that EastEnders is just as guilty for doing it. not so noticeable nowadays. I feel like there's a lot of kind of stories kind of always carrying on in the background. Like this week, you know, the whole Jack and Amy story, like just a mention of it. They're still mentioning it, still happening. So they've kind of got their ducks in a row with that kind of like storytelling now. The cast is larger, I think, for Coronation Street. I was doing the I said to you before we started the show, I was doing the pictures for the tier list for this year. For people to get involved. Don't worry, we'll put all the details up sooner or later. It's on its way. And the criteria of that is that the characters have to be in more than 10 episodes, and they have to be 17 years or older. The actor who plays them is 17 years or older.
Right.
And I think I got to 63 cast members this year, which is the most I've ever done.
Wow.
So
it's less than it used to be, though, including all the cast, including all the kids. I think it was at 80 odd or something a couple of years.
This is it. I've not included the kids, so perhaps it's
yeah. So they're going to be nice long videos, aren't they? I can't wait. But yeah, I think,
anyway.
But the other thing is as well, you know, the episode numbers, Corrie especially, like the episode numbers have gone up so much. EastEnders has sort of stayed around the 4 episode mark a little bit, so they've kind of got a little bit more sort of leeway with their stuff, but they still have to churn out 4 episodes a week all year round. So that's kind of why there's so many characters. You know, there's more episodes, they've got more material, they've got more storylines they need to fill.
That's true.
Which you could argue is sort of kind of why soaps have sort of taken a step down from the kind of mad gravitas that, you know, everything was about the soaps at once upon a time, wasn't it? You know, maybe the soaps have sort of worn themselves out a little bit. And what the future of soaps is, who knows? You know, I think all the streaming stuff is kind of coming forward. Soaps kind of got their eye on that and sort of working out what they're going to do.
Well,
so
as we said with the whole Neighbours thing and something the other. But yeah, as you say, with remembering things, don't think with like remember things off the top of my head, because sometimes I've got a little notepad here.
That remembers my name.
And I don't. Well, look, I'm really bad at names. That's the one thing I'm really bad at remembering, and that's the thing that I always tend to kind of forget. And luckily, Rob's here to kind of fill me in. Or if I'm not podcasting with Rob, with Ben. People are better at names than I am. It's sadly one of my things. I'm just not very good at remembering names of people. But Jen, I've remembered your name, and to answer your question, you know, I'm not I'm not by no means perfect at things. If I know that I'm going to reference something from the past with something that's happening now, then 9 times out of 10 I will at least make a note to remind myself of it as I'm watching the show or just before I'm doing the recording. So yeah, thanks for the email, Jen. It was lovely to hear from you again.
Lovely to hear from you. Thank you very much, Jen. And you can get in touch with us by doing the following. You can contact us on Twitter and Instagram at Walford Weekly. You can find us on Facebook at Walford Weekly Podcast. On YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to get notifications about our spoiler videos. And you can find us on Apple, Podbean, Spotify, or any of your favourite podcast sites. You can email us at robwalfordweekly@gmail.com or alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com. Here we are, final month of 2022. We are officially into Clenna's first Christmas. I'm very excited. And also, by the way, Clenna's first Christmas. And also, by the way, there is you know, plans afoot for the new calendar of 2023. I've seen a few suggestions out there. Don't you worry, this won't be going away. This is clearly the thing that keeps this podcast going. This is nothing to do with us, Alex. It's merely the turn of the calendar. And I would like to thank my friends Emma and Jono who got me that last Christmas with the intention of it going in the background of the podcast. It's done a wonderful job, hasn't it? Apart from falling apart.
It has. Are they watching? Do they watch the podcast?
I know my friend Emma tends to watch the start of every month just to see what the next picture is. But she doesn't. We go a bit spoilery for her, so it's sort of that, you know, they aren't quite our level. They're quite our. Well, they're not as sad as us, quite frankly, Alex. So that's how it goes. But
Emma.
A future calendar is being thought about. Don't you worry your little cotton socks about that. And you can see that when we return in the new year. But that'll be then. Yes, indeed. That'll be then. And this is now. So this time next week, Alex, we may well be discussing Dot's funeral or something else. I've no idea what that is.
I haven't got a clue. I've not been following spoilers this week, to be fair. I've been really bad.
Which is good. No, it's how it should be, I think. That makes it much more exciting.
More Alfie.
If you want to get in touch with us, please follow all of those social media links and comment section below. Until next week, lovely viewers and listeners, it's goodbye from me.
Bye from me as well. Have a lovely one. Enjoy your weekend and all that guff.
Bye!